Okay, so for the people who don't know, because we had this discussion at dinner the other night, because I feel like this actually fits in with crypto people really well. What is the Bronze Age mindset?
I think the Bronze Age mindset is, like, the way I interpret it, at least, is like sort of believe in yourself to make a change in the world. And then there's, specific things with regards to really cultivating the masculine energy within you as a man, and then for women, like leaning into your feminine energy.
Yeah.
And it's okay to do that.
Yeah.
Because that's fine.
Yep.
Like I saw a study, some scientist was saying that testosterone doesn't actually make you more aggressive. It just amplifies your best traits, maybe your worst traits too, but it definitely amplifies your best traits. If you're like a kind and loving person, if you have like higher testosterone, you're gonna be even more kind and loving towards others. If you're already like an aggressive guy, or more testosterone, you're gonna feel that more. So I think like we live in a world where it just feels like those that have the power want to cuck the people that are not in power, because that's how you maintain the power structure. And I think it's just like not thinking of that as a conspiracy theory. Like there's not a tinfoil hat to be worn to like believe that. Just that is how it is, and wake up to that.
Yeah, exactly. That's interesting. So do you think you've always had like that mindset even before this book, and has that led to like what you've done in life?
I think so. I think it's just cool to. I never knew it was like philosophized.
Yeah.
I didn't know that there were these guys actually writing about it. So once that kind of legitimizes it in your head. Like when it's in your head, it's just kind of like you're just going through life and it's just like jumbled. And then when you read it, you're like, okay, there's like smart people writing about this sort of same thing that I align with.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So because I think about like I think men on average are more prone to take risk. And that comes with testosterone. Like it's just like an evolutionary thing. Like men had to go out and hunt. They had to take risks to do that. Do you think you were always not risk adverse, but like more risk seeking?
Yeah, to an extent. Yeah. Like I try to be calculated.
Yeah.
When I was younger, it was less calculated. As I've gotten older, gotten smarter.
More
calculated.
Yeah. Well, I only asked because like starting Jito was a huge risk. Yeah. Right. And I'm asking this, I guess, for my own personal like curiosity. Were you scared to start Jito?
No, like I saw it as you win or you learn. So either we make it big, or I spent a bunch of time learning something.
Yeah.
Right. The best way to learn how to run a company, I think, is to just start a company.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of things that you can't learn in school, like how do you talk to people, manage people, and like, how do you, I think the hardest part as a leader is to motivate people to really, you can't just, I don't want to just boss people around and just say, hey, this is what we're doing. I want people to feel like inspired to do the thing. Yeah. And then the machine kind of churns on its own once you do that.
My dad has a company, or he has built a company, and like his mantra ever since I was young was always like, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And so like that's basically how he's run his company, which has been successful.
Right.
But it's kind of true. It's like, would you rather be feared or loved type thing?
Right.
And like, people, like, fear will only get you so far.
Yep.
It might help you at the beginning to motivate people, but eventually people break.
Yep.
But if they love you, they'll die for you.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So I think that's definitely a good way to look at it. There's definitely like there's a balance, obviously. Like as a leader, you need like a healthy respect.
Yep.
For sure. But you definitely want people to love you.
Yeah, you want them to love you. There's also I think you don't want to be a family.
No.
You want to be a team.
Yeah.
You want to be like a basketball team.
Yeah. Where there's a captain, there's a coach.
Right. And everybody's, there's expected output.
Yep.
Whereas a family is like, you're always there for them.
You're always there.
You don't just fire them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you're just a deadbeat, you can't kick them out of the family.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. We were actually talking about this last night or maybe the night before, because like I had the coffee shop and I had 13 employees, and yeah, just like how do you motivate people who aren't motivated to work?
I want to hear more about, because you've started a bunch of
small businesses. Yeah.
I want to hear more about that.
So
what was your first?
My first business? Yeah. So I had a weird story, because I was like doing a degree in finance, finished it, and then I was playing sports and I loved exercise science, so I started another degree in exercise science, and I almost finished that one. But long story short, I wanted to get married, so I was like, oh, I can't be a kid anymore. I got to do something.
Yep.
And Laura and I were, about to get married. So anyway, while I was in college, I started a gym in my parents' garage. I scaled that, built it up to like an actual, big CrossFit gym. We trained like a bunch of athletes. So then out of that though, I was also studying like caffeine as an exercise enhancement, like exercise performance enhancer. Because a lot of people don't know this, but caffeine was banned from the Olympics for a couple of years there. But anyway, I was studying that, which led me to coffee, which led me down this entire rabbit hole, like coffee rabbit hole. And so I started a coffee company because I didn't know what to do after the gym. So then I got into the coffee game, and yeah, like we scaled that. I was traveling to Colombia and a bunch of other countries, importing coffee, and then we'd roast it and we'd ship it out all over the world. And then I opened a coffee shop, and I was at a point where we had about 13 employees. I had a bank approach me and say, like, do you want to scale this? We want to open we'll start with 5 more, and then we'll keep going and turn it into kind of like a franchise thing. So I came back to our point that we were just talking about. I came to this crossroads where it was like, do I want to deal with all these employees or not? Like, this is the time. Like, you're either going to scale it right now and this is going to be your life for the next 10, 15 years, or you just walk away and take the money. And I just sold it. Yeah. It's like, I can't do this. Yep. I can't deal with, I don't have the personality or the patience to deal with the people. So anyway.
Yeah, I feel like just generally businesses that really focus on the details are, I appreciate that when, I appreciate sort of crafty work.
Yeah.
Even with the production.
Yeah.
Your production's great. And it's like, you don't get that good unless you're very particular and you work on it.
You get obsessed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like here at Jito, there's a squad of people like that.
Yeah.
It's like a team of people. I have my little thing that I do, but there's a version of me doing their own thing, like you, like Lucas, whoever else on the team. I'm not going to name names so I don't dox anyone, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of people who are obsessed with what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
And good at it, right?
Yep. Yeah, just be proud of the work you put out there. Don't just. Sometimes you have to glue things together at startups, but I think there's a healthy balance to be had.
But do you think? I think, looking from the outside, that you guys did a really good job putting together a team, a cohesive team.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? Did you do that consciously, or did this kind of happen by accident?
No, Lucas and I definitely we put a lot of weight on culture, and so every person individually was are they a good culture fit? Because I think the technical stuff, there's plenty of good engineers out in the world. I think the hard part is, especially early, when you're 10 employees or less, that's the foundation for the culture at the company. I think maybe as it grows, it gets become a little less picky on that. So it was very important to just have the core team, because you're almost in the early days, you're you're a band of brothers basically.
Yeah.
We're all in this together type of thing.
Yep.
There's fires all the time.
Yep.
You're not making any money.
Yep.
And then slowly over time, it becomes a legitimate operation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I had it is interesting because I wasn't here for the super early days, but it's interesting. We had a meeting the other day about the brand, and it was yesterday, I guess, about the brand, where it's come from, where it's going, what the narrative, we want to, how we want to present ourselves to the world. And Lucas was kind of talking about when it started, just the grind, nothing was happening, and there was a decision to be made. Do we stay or do we go? Do we pivot? And like at that point in time, maybe actually, can you talk about that point in time?
Yeah.
And then the reason why you decided to stay and build.
Yeah, we were at an offsite, and all the FTX stuff had just happened maybe a few months prior.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much Solana looked like a ghost town. I mean, there wasn't a lot of activity anywhere, to be honest. But the FTX thing being so tied to Solana, it raises a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we decided to double down on Solana because you look around, it's like after all the dust settles, you kind of look around, who's still on the battlefield. It's like all the smart teams are still here.
Yeah.
And I think intellectual capital is extremely important for any ecosystem. Like for countries, the best countries in the world have all the intellectual capital.
That's right.
You look at some countries, they have all these natural resources, but they don't have the intellectual capital. And who controls those countries? The people with the intellectual capital. So I think Solana had that. And then that also creates, a good vibe. And when you look around, you're like, all right, well, I see everybody's still here. Well, I'm not leaving. They're not leaving. So we'll turn this thing around.
That, I was kind of like thinking about that as Lucas was telling that story, and I'm like, man, things could be so different right now.
Yeah.
And like the question is, like, had Jito not stayed on Solana and just decided to like grind, would Solana be where it is today?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
I think so. I think. I think we have a part in Solana's success. Like every ecosystem team that stuck around, you need it all, right? You need all the apps. You need the good infra. I think Solana is just so big. It's such a, it's like got an amazing ecosystem.
Yeah.
So I think it would have been fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I do think if we had moved elsewhere, though, we would have lit a fire on that place.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been competitive.
That's the kind of mindset you have to have,
Yeah.
though. It's like, doesn't matter what chain it was on.
Yeah.
Jito was going to win.
Yeah. Solana would have been fine, but wherever we had chosen would have also been pretty competitive with it.
Yeah, that's right.